Well, welcome to another episode of Break Time Off the Shelf. We have another amazing guest. I'm sitting by two bald guys here today, so excited to join. It's a wonderful day for me. Josh Ginsberg, CEO here at Breakdown.
And I'm Brad Godwin, the EVP of CPG and Retail Partnerships. And our lovely guest,
Rich Hill, Shopper Marketing for Unilever.
Bada bing, bada boom. Just as a quick reference, we're going to have a conversation today about commerce, people, culture, all the things. The views expressed here don't necessarily represent Unilever or Break Time as entities. We're just three guys having a conversation, and we hope you enjoy it.
Awesome. Well, you've obviously worn a lot of hats down here, Rich, in this community, but I feel like it would be helpful for everyone just to understand like a little bit about your role at Unilever today and kind of where your focus is.
Yeah, so Unilever, my role is deodorant, which is pretty cool. We have Axe, Dove, Dove for Men, and Degree deodorants primarily at Unilever, and I've never thought I'd have this much fun in the deodorant space, but you just never know. So it's been great. It's been great.
Is there something, so that's like what you get to do, like kind of the day-to-day.
Yeah.
What gets you most excited about, like, whether it's maybe partnerships or access? Obviously, Unilever is a huge multinational company that's got a lot of different investments into sports marketing and other things. Are there things about the job that you just like really maybe have surprised you really enjoy?
Yeah. So, I mean, innovation's cool. You think about deodorant just being deodorant, but the fact that Pipeline has a ton of innovation, it's cool. It's interesting. And I've learned more in the past 3 years than I've ever thought I would on deodorant. But how you surround that, it's the celebrity aspect of it, right? It's the notoriety of putting a Marshawn Lynch in a DMC piece of it. And some of the things we've got planned for FIFA next year. It's pretty cool. I'm a huge basketball fan, so the March Madness partnership has been great to activate over the past couple of years. So yeah, lots of leverage to pull.
That's cool. That FIFA is definitely, there's a lot of buzz happening, seeing all sorts of FIFA things out there. And we haven't even gotten games announced yet, right? I think that's coming next month. But can you tell us a little more about FIFA and what you guys are trying to accomplish?
Yeah, so we are the official personal care sponsor of the FIFA World Cup, and we have been for years. It just happens to be, since it's a bigger deal, having it in the U.S. in 26. We get to activate that in a big way. Everything from limited edition wrapped SKUs to gift packs, which are in stores now that allow you to scan and enter for a chance to win tickets to the World Cup, swag, different products through Walmart. So it's a breakthrough idea simply because the tickets are in such high demand, and being that partner perk is having these tickets that we're given a chance for Unilever shoppers to experience that.
Is there one of the things that I heard from you just now when you were talking that reminded me of, sometimes we've got ancillary products that are in a category. So if I'm maybe a national account manager or BDM or salesperson or shopper marketer, agency person, I'm listening to this, you go, well, I've got this product, deodorant. It's deodorant. It helps you either antiperspirant, like it helps you with your sweat, helps you show up. But there's like way more that it actually does as far as like self-esteem. Yeah. I don't want to show up and be the guy that's got sweaty pits and people are like, oh, look at Brad's shirt, right? There are these a human component to what it's solving for. And just like you said with World Cup, that's going to be a cultural moment here in the U.S., not just because it's a sports event, but because there's going to be a lot of incremental gathering of people. There's going to be people that are introduced to soccer at a level that they maybe have not been introduced to it before. I know soccer is one of the fastest growing youth sports right now in the United States. And so as you're starting to think about these brands, are there things when you're working with your agency and you're working with the brand teams that you're thinking about through commerce to go, hey, we've got these cultural moments, we've got these human truths, we still got to drive sales at Walmart, right? And so how do I construct that? Can we get a behind the scenes tour of Rich's brain when you're thinking through this?
You don't want to go there. I think it goes back to relevance. I think more than anything else, especially in personal care. Because yes, I've got deodorant. Of course, we have personal care across hair and body wash and all the things, but it is culturally relevant. I think it's important that you're introducing people to soccer for the first time, or that there be an elevated interest. Even those casual fans will take interest in what the World Cup is, and being associated with that partnership of that gets Walmart excited, right? And that's going to get their customers excited. So I think the combination of that is pretty cool.
That's awesome.
And how do you think applying something like that, World Cup and the equity behind it, you're deodorant, but you have 4 very distinct brands across deodorant. I mean, Axe and Dove, couldn't be more different for both being from the same company. So how are you thinking taking an amazing property like FIFA and the World Cup and trying to apply it to those brands and what they stand for individually as well as collectively, right?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's been interesting to see the 4 individual brands come to life like that, because they don't plan together, they plan individually, and that allows them to have their own moment, their own personality. So but it's interesting. I mentioned Marshawn. We'll have him, I don't know if I'm telling tales out of school, but he'll be a face of ours that's announcing this partnership at Walmart. But it's cool. Like, Marshawn is a personality, he's great, and he's got a lot of appeal, but now we put him up against soccer, which is interesting. So that opens that piece of it up. Axe is our, kind of tip of the spear on the cultural piece of it. So we've done some cool stuff of late with Axe to increase its relevancy with maybe a younger demographic. So it's interesting. Degree is more performance based. So, we'll have athletes that sponsor that as well. So it's just individual lanes that come together to pull a broader story.
So it's like all I think of that. This is, go with my analogy here. Boy band, right?
Yes.
There's four players. They all each have their own kind of style, but somehow when you pull them together, it's the portfolio play that works, right? But they all have their own distinct.
They've all got their own.
See, soccer team's probably better than boy band at this point. Seeing we're talking about FIFA, but and I think that the thing that's been really interesting, even over the years, when I think back to last year and March Madness, because we got to work together on that program of like taking March Madness, which as a college basketball fan, that is like my favorite time of the year for sure. But being able to not just drive velocity, but excitement, right? Like that's something that you said earlier of like finding what Walmart cares about as a company, finding what Walmart shoppers care about, and then our brand stand for. And if you can find that overlap, it really hums.
Yeah, especially like culturally, timing wise, especially you think about what late March, early April are to March Madness, for example, it is that sweet spot. And people are shopping at Walmart weekly. So it is that sweet spot to connect those properties back with the brands.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I know on that one, even at the end of that campaign, we got to send people to the Final Four, which I have never been to the Final Four. It's on my list at some point. Would love to go to the Final Four and to the national championship game. And I remember when we heard back at break time from the folks that won. I mean, they're live. They will forever
it's a moment.
Remember that moment brought to you, by Degree, by Axe, by DMC, and Walmart, right? That's something they're gonna tell their kids about. They're gonna tell all their friends about. And so like creating those like kind of once in a lifetime moments. I feel like Unilever does a really good job of using those properties to create those experiences.
Yeah, they do. It's a great job from the brand team of those partnerships. Again, creating that connectivity back to culture at scale is important. And to your point, it really, you can't get lost in the fact that it's a macro program, it's a marketing program, but it impacts people. It's pretty cool, right? So that's neat.
How do you scale that message? Like, how do you go beyond the blocking and tackling of, display and search and the key components of your retail media strategy to really like bring the stories of the brands to life, bring those experiences? Like, how do you kind of approach that when you're thinking about building your plans?
Yeah, it's interesting. So there's a couple of different work streams. One is brand specific. We talked about that. You've got their own swim lanes, necessarily their own tone of voice, and then it's scale. So, the power of all of those brands telling a broader personal care story is a different piece of it. And that's more, it's broader. We're exploring this now with FIFA. How do we tell that scaled story, the power of all the brands to get across to shoppers that, hey, this is relevant. These are brands that and brands that hopefully you trust and continue to use. But oh, by the way, there's one. And it's this opportunity to connect with World Cup.
Boy, that's awesome. Is there, one of the things as even in the last month, because things in this space, they just continually change, is Walmart announced OpenAI partnership. Hey, it's going to be the first retailer that's partnered with them of in-app, commerce experience within ChatGPT and the implications of that. Has that started to ripple effect into your day-to-day? Is that something that is on the horizon, but maybe TBD of what role that's going to play? But like, as you think about like agentic shopping or like conversational commerce and those things of using an agent on behalf of someone to interact, a little different than maybe traditional search. Can you unpack that or give us a behind the scenes?
I wish I could unpack it. I can give you my point of view.
Give me your point of view.
Yeah. So when we work with WMC, obviously they are a master of test and learn, and we're in the good position to have those conversations initially with Walmart about we're testing this as an in-store piece to the app. People are shopping with their phones in their hands. They're pulling up the Walmart app. And by the way, we're going to layer on AI at shelf, and that's going to help people make decisions. The other side of that is search. It's interesting because if you think about how you engage with AI, you're giving different commands or asking different questions than you would in a search bar on Walmart.com. So you have to take that now into consideration because people's behaviors are changing about how they're searching and engaging with products, and now that comes into the search place. So, yeah, it's a lot.
What about as a marketer using AI tool set, just like in your workflows in a day-to-day, and like taking your marketer hat off as just like a human, as a dad, as an individual? Like, how are you using AI in your life right now?
Oh, great question. Great question. Lots of ways. Man, I will tell you from a work standpoint, we're Copilot is our agent on the Microsoft side, and Unilever side. And it is fantastic to be able to take a spreadsheet that would normally take me 3 days and VLOOKUPs and all of the things to condense information into something. So that's
minutes. Yeah.
So that's been a game changer. And don't tell my marketer, my brand crew this, we'll keep this secret, but like you want a quick rendering, right? What does it look like with an Axe display and an end cap that I could throw in a quick turn presentation? So those types of things have increased the speed to react to things. So that's been from a business standpoint. Personal standpoint is crazy. You can do everything. I've got a little pet project called Camp Lemonade that I've partnered with ChatGPT to create print ads and different vibes and the logo and the color scheme and the brand kit and those kinds of things. And those things are fun, but the speed in which you're able to engage in that and then move the process along is cool. So both on the personal and professional side.
Let's not let that slip by. Let's go back here for a minute. As marketers, we're always curious at stories and also things people are doing on the side to kind of work those marketing brains. Tell us a little more about Camp Lemonade.
So Camp Lemonade. So yeah, thanks for asking, Josh. Pet project, out of the blue, backstory, driving my daughter home back from camp over the summer. And she's telling me about the week, and she off the cuff mentions how much she liked Camp Lemonade. And of course, the marketing intent is start going like, what do you mean? Was that the brand? They serve camp.
No, I just a lemonade they had at camp.
That's exactly right. That's exactly what she said. But all the way back, I'm going, I wonder if there's such a thing as a camp beverage, camp lemonade. And ultimately, there isn't. So that's been my obsession over the past couple of months of bringing this thing to life. And it's been fun because the background, my marketing background is great. And we deal in such a different space from a macro level and a mass level to be able to go, okay, here's the step by step. I need to figure out what the recipe is, and creating content and leveraging my 15-year-old daughter for followers and having her give me a hard time because I've leaned too much on AI. So all of those things have been interesting. Just to put, it's the same hat, but just in a different context. So it's been cool.
As a CPG marketer, like how has that changed the way you think about working with your brands? You obviously go through a much, probably more intense R&D process and product development process. And, I know you probably working those arms, squeezing that lemonade, obviously develop like a new innovation deodorant a little bit differently. But how has that changed your process a little bit as you think about like working with the people developing products at Unilever?
Yeah, it's funny because from a shopper marketing standpoint, you get the information a little bit further down the line. You don't know what they've been working on for 3 years in the R&D department. you get the feedback from consumers. Yes, I like this. Here's what I prefer. Here's the features and benefits, and that's somewhat hand delivered to you. When you're doing it on your own, you're putting it in mason jars and taking it to your neighbor going, do you like this? It's more one-on-one engagement. You're getting that feedback. So it's a little more human, which is cool, and a little less statistical.
Well, I know that when I got the samples that you gave me and I went home and I sent you that video of my 13-year-old who also goes to the same camp.
Okay.
And I think one of the things that's interesting is the power of story.
Yeah.
Right. And I think as much as data is important, as much as tech's important, story has existed as long as humans have existed. 100%. This idea of telling stories. Yeah. And when I opened the kit, she's like, oh, this looks cool. I was like, well, let me tell you the story.
It's a backstory, yeah.
And I told her, hey, my friend Rich, his daughter's going to Unilever French. They were coming back. She's like, oh, that's where I go to camp. I'm like, I know. And he asked her about the week. She said she loved the camp lemonade. You then went back to start this idea of like, well, I wonder if I could make that happen.
Yeah.
And for her to hear the story before she ever tasted the product.
Yeah. Yep.
Then the product has context versus here's a lemonade. Do you like it or not? Right. And so it was a good reminder for me as a marketer that even on that small scale, right, of little local thing, you're going that the story matters.
100%.
And I think that whether that's Juju Watkins and degree of telling the story of a college athlete who's rose to fame, went through adversity, had to overcome, like that's the stuff that gets us excited as humans. And I think sometimes I forget that. That's like, oh no, the product's just awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you should just like it because it's awesome. And it's like, well, maybe that's true. But even for Walmart shoppers, inviting them into the story. Like there's a story here. And so I appreciate you sharing with me because it enabled me to share my story with my daughter, and she now has a fun new brand.
To play on that, like how do you tell that story at Walmart to the Walmart shopper? Because like Dove, like a great brand, confidence, sports confidence, there's amazing stories there that are built. But to get that to a shopper on the move, on the go, on an app, like how do you try to take that amazing brand content that you're fed, tell it through the story with the toolkit that you have to a Walmart shopper? How do you go about that?
Yeah, well, that's the beauty of shopper marketing is the ability to customize the story, so to speak, at a more of a micro level. So we do have brand information, and that's great. And our brands do a fantastic job of supporting Walmart. But when we get to do, and this was a pilot that we had, it's actually wrapping up now for fall sports. So we partnered with a number of athletes who are soccer players in college, football players that, you see them on ESPN and you get that and you see all the stats. But the series that we created was, I think it was behind the jersey or something like that, which is cool. You get to see what their day-to-day is. They're students.
They're real life. They're just people on campus.
Yeah, and we put them in the context part of the filter was, do they shop at Walmart? Oh, yeah, shop at Walmart. So it's them going to, they place the order pickup. And it's very relatable to people versus just seeing them on the court, on the field, or, on the screen.
Yeah, well, we forget that they just put pants on the same way we do.
Yeah.
They cook dinner. They put on deodorant. They brush their teeth. They are people, right? And so to be able to translate, that's a great example of humanizing them in a way that they go, these are, like, you see them on SportsCenter. They're Walmart shoppers, actually. Like, they actually shop at Walmart, and they go through these same things that you do. That's really cool.
You talked a little bit earlier about Walmart Connect and obviously trying out new things. Obviously, being Unilever, you're a tier 1 major partner of theirs. Can you talk to us a little bit about like that relationship and dynamic and kind of like what works really well, and maybe for those listening, like things to try out, things to not try out if they're working with WMC maybe for the first time or trying to deepen the relationship?
Yeah, it's planning, and the beauty of WMC and the merchants and suppliers, the further out that you can plan, the better off you are. That may be just the most obvious statement in the world, but we have things that have come to life, earlier this year with the Crumble partnership, maybe we can talk about that, or conversations that we're having 2.5, 3 years ago, and that didn't exist. And so when you start those conversations back with the merchants and the art of the possible, those types of things, having that WMC partner now at the table going, okay, well, we planted the seed And now we can explore all of these different areas, right? So, that's fun, especially when we started talking FIFA a year ago with Walmart. And it's different having that conversation about how big it is 12 months ago versus, oh, by the way, here's our plan for 26. We're FIFA sponsors. It's a different conversation. So we're able to explore some different things and go deeper on some engagements. And again, the pilot that we talked about, again, the testing and learning all the time. So when you plant that seed of FIFA, for example, it's like, oh, this could be a good activation for your partnership with FIFA. So those types of things come up.
So you're not necessarily, I think maybe we've heard from others in the past where they're like, I'm bringing Walmart my plans.
Right.
From what I hear you saying, you're like, we're getting in the kitchen and we're baking the cake together.
Yeah.
We're not giving them a baked cake.
Yeah, it is absolute co-creation, which is amazing.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's really cool. Yeah. Is there something that was, I know we talked about Crumble. Obviously that was a collab. Are there things about that program as you think back of it's great to launch and have success. I think often it's learnings, right? As marketers, it's like, man, test and learn, fail fast, learn often. When you win, why'd you win?
Yep.
How do we apply that? Are there things from that program that you've taken forward? You're like, oh, this is probably one of the contributing factors of why this worked well.
Yes. Crumble may be an exception because it was so well received by Walmart and Walmart shoppers, which was great, but it did reinforce what you already know. Power of social. Once that thing started to hit the shelf, because I think we were online first before we actually hit the store just after Christmas, and it started to show up digitally, going gangbusters. And, it was out of stock, and you see it on eBay, the next day that you're out of stock, but somebody else is selling it for 10x, those types of things. Wow. So, the power of social is there. Man, it's just, it just goes back to the co-creation in this situation among the brand, Walmart, and then Crumble, which licensed their name, which is great. But you think about Dove, for example. Dove is a premier brand. They leaned in. They said, okay, yeah, we'll change our bottle, our container colors to pink.
Which is kind of like unprecedented.
Yeah, who does that? And I think that leaned into it too, because it just shows the depth of the commitment to it. So that's really cool.
Yeah. That's really cool.
What about when you have something like that that's so unique, and it sounds like lightning in a bottle in that sense? Obviously, you had a long distribution. I think it was 6 months, right? That was out there. But how do you bring that to life? What tactics do you use? Obviously, it sounds like social is one of them to help get the message out and make sure that you can tell that story you talked about earlier, and then allow it to drive commerce.
Yeah. So we pulled all of the levers on a WMC standpoint. So the first party data is incredible. Lots of power there. But it was exclusive to Walmart. So that angle in and of itself helped us with the messaging, whether it's on the homepage, shouting it from, it's a homepage of the app, to the media itself, only at Walmart. That's powerful, right? That's powerful. So the exclusivity combined with the novelty of it was great.
Is there something, one of the things that we're continually hearing, at least both from a Walmart leadership perspective, and I think even Sam's Club map here in Northwest Arkansas, and a lot of brands of what people are wanting are experiences, right? It's why I go to the coffee shops I go to. It's why I go to the restaurants I go to. I want to be, if I'm going to go be in these places and spend my dollars, I want to have experiences that matter. Are those things, as you're thinking about 2026 and beyond, quite frankly, of what are across our brands, what are those experiences we can create physically, surprise and delight moments, memorable experiences, sweepstakes, promotion, and or digital. How are we showing up online? How are we showing up on our product page? How are we showing up on our brand shops? How are we showing up offsite? How are you thinking about when you're working with your agency and WMC about experiences in general and the role that your brands play?
Yeah, great question. Especially when you have, a partnership with FIFA. It's you see it on screen. Sweepstakes are great, but that's one dimensional. Yep. Anytime that you can bring some depth to it, and that's what we're exploring for 26 is how do we? It is soccer, and it is a cultural moment. People get it. They love it. So how do we add depth to that? Our brand team, Dove brand team, were sponsors of Gotham FC. We had an experience at the beginning of their season earlier. It was at a Walmart store. It was engagement. It was coaching from local soccer coaches, and it had a couple of the players that came in.
That's cool.
So, it adds depth to that experience that any time that we can do that, go back to March Madness. Grant Hill's our guy. We've had him in store before. And again, cool. To go meet a legend, awesome. Face to face, and, brands like Dove for Men can make that happen. So it's cool.
Talking about like the kind of charitable cause, we got to work together on the Big Brothers Big Sisters program earlier this year, and just thinking back, like Dove historically is just such a good job kind of like thinking of cause. How do you ideate something like that? How does it come to life? And then again, how do you make a cause relevant to the Walmart shopper specifically?
Right. Big Brothers Big Sisters is actually a great example, because it is something that Dove for Men are passionate about, and it's part of their DNA. Also a part of Walmart's. So when you find those moments when you can kind of connect that sweet spot, makes perfect sense. And it goes beyond a display. It goes beyond messaging on the app. It's dimensionalized, right? So we're having those experiences in store, and making a difference, which is kind of cool. We're just not selling product.
Yeah, I remember being at the event, one of the local events that we had here at Walmart, and to see, as a dad of 3 daughters, and seeing the stats around mental health for teenage girls. I mean, it's catastrophic right now with social media and smartphones and all the things associated to that, from like the anxious generation movement, to go what Dove is doing with their self-esteem initiative, and to see the tangible impact at local shop, like store of the community. These are shoppers in this community that are now coming in and getting to write the things they love about themselves. Yeah. And to watch girl after girl come up and write on this, take a picture, be proud of how they look, write the things that are positive, and put it on a wall, and see their friends then do the same, and then do the same. And that there is like something as a dad that I'm like, we need more of this in the world right now, because it felt like amidst all of the stuff that can potentially put us on sides of the table, it brought us around the table. Yeah. And I think that's something obviously at the highest level Dove's trying to do, but to be able to see that then brought down into these local communities, with jet fuel, being able to activate that, it was really, really impactful for me to get to bear witness to it. And for us to get to digitize that in a way and extend that to go, man, this is so cool, but it's only for 4 hours. Right. And it's only at the store. How do we then make that and get that message out to as many possible people and invite them into that same story? Is there something that I think trying to extend, right? That's something that we've talked a lot about, of extending value, of there's only so many dollars. Yeah. There's only so, those are not infinite amount of budgets that you just have blank checks. So you have to be thoughtful. Yeah. But creating these really cool experiences that are meeting people, and then some of the things we've gotten to do is then take those to more of the masses across the board. Any thoughts on just, has that worked? How have you felt that has worked? Are there things about those human truths that are happening in real life, but also can be extended digitally?
Yeah, so, good perspective, especially being a dad of daughters, same here. It is cool to see those moments, because how many moments are there like that, right? Where you're actually reflecting and being intentional about your statements like that. Great question, because again, money doesn't grow on trees, and we can activate that, and we can build an intentional marketing strategy to drive people to these stores on these days for these moments. But it's hard, it's hard to reach true scale. The challenge is ongoing, it's digitally, right? Yeah. Because, inevitably, you nailed it. There's so much negativity online that you're so subjective to it. How do you contradict that? And it's tough.
Yeah.
The brands do a good job, but a 30-second TV commercial can only go so far. So how do we get them to, double click, so to speak, and go to the site? Because there are resources, and it's great. And it's just a matter of calling attention to it and, being intentional.
And I think that there maybe is this misinformation or myth busters that you can do really good and still drive significant business impact. I know when we worked on that program, that was a big aha. Yeah. Oh my gosh, heaven forbid we build this really cool interactive digital experience that works with the physical event, that there's significant sales while still making this massive like cause impact, and not out of a manipulative way, out of a true authentic. This is authentic. How the brand lives itself, but going, maybe people want more of that.
I think I guarantee you they do.
Yeah.
I guarantee you.
That's really cool.
Yep.
What are some other brands that you kind of look to outside of your own brands you work on every day? But like, what brands inspire you? Who are you following in terms of, campaigns and things that might give you some new ideas to work on?
Well, it's hit home. Dr. Squatch. It's funny because they are. It's quirky and it's different and they're aggressive and it's awesome. And when they were not a part of the Unilever family, it's like, okay, well, I can't really admit that I like what they're doing. But now that they're in the fold, it's easier to say, they get it. And especially from a relevant standpoint, some of the stuff they're doing with wrestling. Just these different moments. The Sydney Sweeney moment earlier this year. That kind of willingness to kind of put yourself out there is impressive. Especially because some of our brands are a little more conservative, and that's okay. We play in that space, but just seeing like a Dr. Squatch bring their activations to life is cool.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
One thing that, because Rich is much more than just a marketer, just working at Unilever, are there things like, as you're thinking about how you spend your time, not just at work, but period, that you're dreaming about? Like, what is Rich 2026? I think this time of year we start to go, oh, well, what are our marketing plans?
Yeah.
What are things maybe that are coming up for you as you think about the year ahead that you're excited about? Maybe it's experiences that you might be going on. Josh and I both love to travel and know that like those are things that absolutely, when we think about commerce, I think sometimes we're like, oh, it's only at retail and it's only at grocery. It's like, no, it's like flights, hotels, experiences, tours, cooking classes. There's a lot of things we spend money on. And so as we're having conversations, I think even extending commerce beyond just the lens of a grocery store or a mass store or an e-com site, but like, are there things that you're planning or excited about, and how's that come to be?
You're talking about from a personal standpoint?
Yeah, just life in Rich Hill's world.
Great question. It's funny because we talked about this whole lemonade thing. It's kind of consumed me over the past couple of months to the point where I'm like, okay, all my discretionary time is going towards that. So that would be my short answer, because I'm super excited about it. So I can't say that I've got any trips planned or anything like that. I am a dance dad, so I'll be visiting lovely locations over the winter, like St. Louis, Kansas City, and Tulsa. That'll consume some weekends, but that's short term. But yeah, nothing big. No big European vacation.
Okay,
so focus on camp then. What about think down the road, let's vision out further, 3 to 5 years from now. Where's Camp Lemonade?
That's a great question. 3 to 5 years, it will be in every coffee shop and mom and pop and potentially Walmart. Why not? 5 years.
Love that.
Yeah.
So when you're thinking about that, are there things that you go, hey, from day one of this idea, you're maybe in the kitchen doing something. Have you advanced your materials or done research on ways to, are there products that you've bought that have helped start to commercialize this, whether that's the package they come in or just the process of making it that
it's funny,
advanced along the way?
I'll tell you, serendipity story. I get this, epiphany conversation with Harper. Lo and behold, I go on the Walmart app, and there is this 5-star rated manual squeezer that's on clearance. It's half off.
All right.
So get it to me. So it's coming. The next day, I am on Twitter, and the first tweet that I see is from Gary Vee, and he's talking about, happy National Lemonade Day.
Wow.
And it's a video of him going up to, kids selling lemonade and giving him $5 for a $1 lemonade. I'm like, okay, that's the thing. So between that and then digging out all the pots and pans of your house, discovering things that I haven't cooked up in a while. It's like, oh, I didn't know I had this, but it's interesting. Just little pieces and parts and putting it together. So.
Any inspiration for maybe someone who's had an idea and hasn't, taken it to that next step and done the proverbial, squeezing out those lemons? Like, what does it take?
Do it. Life is short. Life is so short. Just why not?
Yeah.
Why not? So,
and I think, without going into the full story, your story of like, hey, in a year, a lot can happen. Yeah. Right. And so kind of, I think that idea that going, hey, tomorrow might not be guaranteed.
Nope.
Right. We all have, as much as we think that we're immortal and we're going to live forever and be healthy forever and all the things, to go, hey, maybe it's moving also at a pace that you could pick that up from Harper in that conversation and then go, maybe there's something here. Yeah. Maybe it's more than just lemonade. Maybe it's about connecting with my daughter who's a teenager. Maybe it's about creating delight for families and other kids and other moments, which I think is really cool to see it play itself out. One thing I was going to ask you, just because I'm personally intrigued by it, is when you're thinking about like how you're in your household, right? And as you're talking to your daughter, are there things that you're passing down from work to her, even in this? And maybe that's intentionally. As someone, you've got a daughter who's a little older than mine, but I know, and a little older than Josh's. But
a lot older, yep.
As entrepreneurs, as marketers, as guys that work in this space, I think some of it's about teachable moments with our kids. Are there things that maybe because of camp and because of your career in shopper marketing, you've been able to, again, whether she realizes it right now or not, maybe not, that you've like gotten to share with her?
The first thing that comes to mind, I think I walked in her last night, she was making a bracelet. So this is a 15-year-old, she has a phone, but she's actually she's creating
with her hands. Wow.
and reinforcing that, and she'll, doodle and draw. And I want to hit that moment and reinforce that, because I think it's important to, whether she's listening to me as a 15-year-old girl right now or not, trying to say, you know what, that's cool, and encourage that, because, you can get lost in this whole digital darkness and that kind of thing, and just to see her create with her hands and do some different things is pretty cool, and trying to reinforce that's the first thing that comes to mind.
Well, as we're having these conversations, we're calling it off the shelf. I'm going to take that and put it on my shelf as advice as a dad, as I have a new teenager, of what are those things to encourage makers, creating, playfulness, offline, analog activities in this high-tech world that's amazing, and we love technology, but that kind of constant idea of driving human connection, which is really cool.
Any other just words of wisdom for those out there in this kind of commerce space of things maybe you're doing, offline, or in general, just ways to kind of like stay focused and accomplish what you have to accomplish every day?
Just listen to everything. It's beyond, even though it's like, oh, I'm so-and-so age, I shouldn't be on TikTok. You need to be on TikTok. You need to be consuming. You need to be on LinkedIn and reading and Twitter, and just have a vibe for what's happening. I think that's important, because, moving at the speed of retail is a phrase, and it's true. And that retail moves at the speed of culture.
Totally.
Yeah. So just pay attention.
Well, I've always enjoyed that, from when we worked together directly to now getting to work with you, of your curiosity. Like, I think that's a word that I would coin is rich. And it's obviously curious to start a new brand and try something on your own and do new things. And just to really appreciate you coming in and having the conversation today, and excited to see how FIFA plays itself out in 2026 and all the new integrations with Dr. Squash and beyond.
Yeah. I appreciate the invite and conversation. It's been awesome.
Great.
Awesome. Thanks for coming and sharing with us. Appreciate it, Rich.
Thank you, guys.